story of an African Nova Scotian woman. I am a proud African Nova Scotian woman, a partner, a mother, a daughter, a granddaughter, a sister, an auntie, and a friend. I grew up in Truro, Nova Scotia on the island, one of the historical Black communities in this province. And here is where I developed a sense of self, a sense of belonging. This is where I was able to begin the development of my cultural identity. I could learn from leaders in the community, and I could know what it is to be supported and to be loved. I think about my parents, two loving, supportive, involved people who helped my siblings and I, as well as my extended family in community, to know what it was like to be an African Nova Scotian girl, to be proud of that, to be able to have that self-confidence and that self-esteem necessary to be able to reach our goals and dreams. I think about how they also helped us to prepare in understanding that there may be unfair things that happen to us when we leave our community, such as racism, sexism, discrimination, and classism. This was necessary for us to know so that we could know how to deal with it if it were to happen, so that we could be versed with healthy coping strategies as a way of dealing with some of the pain that these experiences might bring. Helpful and not harmful ways of responding to injustice. I like to think of myself as a story catcher and a storyteller. I'm a social worker, a researcher, a writer. And I'm an advocate of creating spaces and places for Black people to be able to share their lived experiences, to tell their stories as a way of educating, raising awareness, and to potentially help someone that might be going through a similar situation. I feel that being able to stand in our raw, authentic truths are also a part of leading the way to our own healing journeys, which is so necessary. I've held stories of joy and happiness and triumph, and I've also kept stories of pain, sorrow, grief, and trauma. That intergenerational trauma, the kind that gets passed down to you from your great-great-grandmother, and sometimes you don't even know it's there or what to look for, but something's festering inside of you, and if you tune into your inner resilience, you can understand that I've got to do something about this. So how does one take on such a task to address the trauma that you might be feeling, the grief, the sorrow, the pain? Well, I think it's about understanding that it's there, to recognize that it's there. It's to give yourself permission to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to cry, to feel that you are worthy of healing. You are worthy of happiness and a quality of life that even maybe our ancestors didn't have. But now we stand here today recognizing that there's opportunities for that. African Nova Scotian people have been in this province for over 400 years. My sister, Cindy Kane, says we've been here. And it's true, we have been. And so I think about the fact that we've had to survive. We tuned into our inner resilience when maybe we didn't even understand what that meant, as a way of making sense out of what didn't make sense, making a way out of no way, being able to rise above the discrimination and racism, even slavery, because that was something that existed in this province, if you knew it or not. It's true. And so when I think about resilience, I think about all of those things. I also think about the matriarchs of our communities, the African Nova Scotian women who carry the load. I seen a meme on Instagram that says, just because someone carries it well doesn't mean that it's not heavy. I think about the stereotypes of women, that they're weak and emotional. And, I think that's the farthest thing from the truth in terms of being weak when it comes to my thoughts about African Nova Scotian women. A 2005 study found that, in particularly, African Nova Scotian men relied and looked to their mothers, their Black mothers, as a source of strength, which contributed to their resiliency. We look to Black women for everything, but we also need to support them in their healing journeys. We need to help them to identify what's going on and that we're here to support them. We also individually need to recognize and tune into our inner resilience to understand that it is okay to take a break if need be, that it is okay to lay our burdens down, and that doesn't mean that we haven't done what we're supposed to do as strong Black women. I think about the trailblazers in our community, those African Nova Scotian leaders that tirelessly keep doing the work. I think about our ancestors, Viola Desmond, who stood up for what was wrong, using her rights. Maybe not at the time, but we can see now how she was able to pave a way for people like me, descendants of those that were here before me. I think about Dr. Carrie Best, who created the Clarion newspaper as a way of spreading awareness around Black culture and identity, where these were places and spaces where Black people weren't present. We were excluded from. I think about the leaders of today who are leading the change they want to see, such as Senator Dr. Wanda Thomas Bernard or Dr. Lynn Jones, a community activist who is from my home community in Truro. And there's the African Nova Scotian girls, the ones that dream big and work hard, and they know that they can achieve what they want because they've got a community that supports them and loves them. There's mentors they can look toward who have paved the way. So remember I said I'm a story catcher and a storyteller. So these beautiful pictures that you see are African Nova Scotian women. And I wanted to somehow invite them to the stage with me tonight because I'm talking about resiliency with African Nova Scotian women and girls. And I think it's right that they be included in this conversation. So in the spirit of collecting information, gathering it all, I asked some African Nova Scotian women and girls, what does resilience mean to you? And this is what they told me. They said that it's the ability to get back up no matter how many times you fall. Even if you're considered a failure, you continue to keep going after your dreams, regardless of what those people are saying about you. It's the holding of your own hand. I love that. Being your own biggest supporter, your own best friend, trusting yourself, allowing yourself to figure out how to get through a challenging time. It's the tarnishing of your name, perhaps, but you have the ability to shine it back up. That's resiliency. It's relying on your faith, relying on your community support, and also understanding when it's time for you to do some unpacking of the feelings or the experiences that you're experiencing that aren't so pleasant. This is a story of an African Nova Scotian woman, one who, as a girl, she was raised in a white home. She didn't really know much about her Blackness, only what was told to her by her family, which was often coded in negativity. They made fun of her. She didn't have a positive racial identity. We know that a positive racial identity is another contributing factor to building resiliency. And so she grew up with anger. She decided to drink to cope with her anger, which led to violence and then led to conflict with the law. And so she realized that there's more for me in life, so she was offered an opportunity to participate in a culturally specific community-driven program, specific for African Nova Scotian women. So she tuned into her inner resilience to accept that participation role. In that program, she realized that her anger resonated with her resentment of her Blackness. Unpacking her childhood race-related trauma, she was able to begin her journey towards healing. This is a story of an African Nova Scotian girl, one who had dreams of being a doctor her whole life. And part of knowing that was possible was because she seen it when she was young. She had a Black doctor. She did all she had to do to achieve the grades to get into med school, supported by her love and family. She still had doubts. Do I have anything to offer? Am I as smart as my white peers? However, she believed in herself. Her mom gets ill while she's in school. She's faced with the decision, do I take a pause on school and care for my mom full time? Because in our communities, children care for their parents when they're not well, and grandchildren care for their grandparents when they're not well. And so her mom wanted her to graduate. She wanted to see this happen. And because she knew there were other little black girls that were looking up to her, who she had once mentored, she knew that this was an opportunity that she had to take. So she continued school. A little while later, her mom passed away. And again, the decision came, do I take a pause on school in my residency, or do I take time to get into my grieving process? And so she tuned into her inner resilience to begin to grieve, begin her healing journey. This is the story of an African Nova Scotian woman, one who has been healthy all her life. She had some pain, and so she went to the doctor, and they found a tumor in her stomach. And not long after, she was told she would have to get an emergency surgery. And so she did. She woke up from the surgery and realized that there were some things wrong with her that she just didn't feel normal about. So she tuned into her resilience to be assertive in her health care. And this is resilience because often black women don't always address the health issues that they're experiencing. And so she continues to tune into her inner resilience by spreading awareness of what she went through, sharing her lived experience as a way of promoting a message of, it's okay, black women, to talk about your health, and it's necessary. This is a story of an African Nova Scotian girl, one who didn't feel a sense of belonging in her high school. She had compromised mental health because she was crying every day because she needed more cultural stimulation. And she wasn't really sure how else to get it but to plead to her parents, can I please trade schools so I can have these opportunities that I know exist elsewhere? She knew that this was something important to her because she could feel it within herself. Her inner resilience was her ability to advocate for herself. The hardest decision probably for her parents to make, they allowed her to go to this new school. And this led her to opportunities of networking and better understanding her cultural identity and brings her to where she's at today. This is a story of an African Nova Scotian girl, one who will not only survive, but she will thrive. She will become what she wants to be because of her inner resilience, because of her ability to dream big and work hard, because of the love and support of her family and community, because of her fearless and forward thinking, and because of her ability to tune in to her inner resilience. I challenge you all to do the same. Tune into your inner resilience. Find that strength within yourself. Identify when you need to feel, and feel. Understand what it is that you have to offer and never give up. Tune into your inner resilience. Thank you.